Before we begin today's video, I would like to give a shout out to two of our newest subscribers, Denver Gator and the Crabber Dasher. Thank you both for subscribing, and welcome to the family. And now on with today's video. Last time we talked about Jenny D's video on the Artificer and made an alchemist multi-class that actually felt like a stereotypical witch and not like the steampunk sort of stereotype people associate with the Artificer. And today we're going to be doing that again with the second subclass that Jenny D covers, the Armorer. And next time we cover this class, we will be talking about the Artillerist, which has its own set of problems that I will talk about in that video. But let's take a look at the Armorer. According to Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, a Artificer who specializes as an armorer modifies armor to function almost like a second skin. The armor is enhanced to hone the Artificer's magic, unleash potent attacks, and generate a formidable defense. The Artificer bonds with this armor, becoming one with it, even as they experiment with it and refine its magical capabilities. According to the Armorer's feature known as Arcane Armor, your metallurgical pursuits have led you to making armor a conduit for your magic. As an action, you can turn a suit of armor you are wearing into arcane armor, provided you have smith's tools in hand. When Jenny D talked about the Armorer, she mentioned a couple of different ways that this could work without having the need for the steampunk aesthetic. Whether that be with a leather armor, some armor made out of wood, or perhaps out of crystal, or even shard plate from Brandon Sanderson's books. I don't remember exactly which book series she mentioned, so you'll have to re-watch that video for that book series. But I do agree. In fact, when she mentioned this, I had a thought. Isn't there another class, more specifically a subclass, that also focuses on armor? In fact, there was the Barbarian, and that is actually what we're going to be talking about today. A multi-class between the Armorer Artificer and the Barbarian. More specifically, the Battle Rager. And that is because the Battle Rager is focused around their armor, a specific type of armor known as spiked armor, which is a medium armor which does not conflict with the rage mechanic of the Barbarian, since, well, it's medium, and rage only hates heavy armor. So working with medium armor, it would work with the Armorer as well. Despite the intended nature of the Armorer Artificer, we can still work with the Battle Rager and the Armorer to make a cohesive build. So, shall we begin? Greetings, viewers! Welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Concept Deep Dive, where we take a look at out-of-the-box character concepts and see how exactly we can play them. I am Drehon, and like I said, we're taking a look at a Armorer Artificer mixed with the Battle Rager Barbarian. Sort of a think tank multi-class. I haven't done an optimized version of this build yet, but we will talk more about optimizations on a later date. For now, let's go ahead and get started with this build. In order to multi-class Artificer with the Barbarian, we are going to need a minimum of 13 for Strength and a minimum of 13 for our Intelligence. So for our starting stats, we are going with a 14 in Strength. Dexterity is going to be a 13, Constitution will be a 14, Intelligence is also a 14, with our dump stats being Wisdom and Charisma. 8 for Wisdom and 9 for Charisma. You're not very good at talking, and you're not very good at perceiving the world around you. For our race, the Mountain Dwarf is going to be our choice, mostly for the fact that the Battle Rager Barbarian does have a built-in restriction to only Dwarf. Now, you could ask your Dungeon Master to lift this restriction, but we are going to work with this build as if we are following everything rules as written. So, as a Mountain Dwarf, you do get access to your 2 stats getting an increase. We're going to use Tasha's rules and switch things up, increasing our Constitution and Intelligence each by 2. We also get access to a 25-foot movement speed, dark vision of 60 feet, dwarven resilience, dwarven combat training, dwarven armor training, dual proficiency in mason's tools. We get access to stone cunning and 2 languages, common and dwarven. If you were not going by this restriction, I do recommend going with the Grung, as they work well with this build setup as well. But like I said, we are going under the assumption we are stuck with the Mountain Dwarf. Moving on to our background, we are going with the Giant Foundling. For our proficiencies, we will be getting access to Intimidation and Survival, as well as 2 languages, Giant and one of our choice. Thanks to Giant Foundling, we get access to the feat Strike of Giants for free. Go for the Frost Strike. This will give us an extra 1d6 cold damage to our attacks. And if the target is a creature, it must succeed a Constitution saving throw, or its speed is reduced to 0 until the start of your next turn. Now remember, this is a melee weapon attack that is being buffed here. So, no range attacks, no crossbows, no firearms. It is a melee weapon attack. Moving on to our Barbarian, we get to start things off with a d12 hit die, starting hit points of 12 plus our con modifier, which is a plus 3 at this point in time. And we get extra hit points equal to 1d12 plus our con modifier per Barbarian level after the first. For your proficiencies, we get access to light armor, medium armor, and shields. For weapons, it is simple and martial weapons. For your saving throws, we are proficient in strength and constitution saving throws. For our 2 skills, I would recommend athletics and nature. We also get access to rage and armored defense, which we will not be calculating because we are going to be wearing armor, which we will talk about a little bit more here in a minute. For our multi-class, of course, we are going into Artificer, giving us a d8 hit die and extra hit points equal to 1d8, plus our con modifier per Artificer level. For our proficiencies, we already have access to light armor, medium armor, and shields, but we do gain access to Thieves' Tools and Tinker's Tools for our tool proficiencies. We also have access to magical tinkering and spellcasting using our intelligence modifier, which is not going to come up often, since while we are raging, we are not able to cast any spells or concentrate on them. So keep that in mind. Moving on to our level 2 Artificer, we get our Infuse item ability, giving us access to Replicate Alchemy Jug, Replicate Tankard of Sobriety, because we do have access to common magic items that we are able to replicate. We also get access to Enhanced Defense, which we will be putting on our shield. Yes, we are able to use a shield while raging, so that is very much useful. We also get access to Armor of Magical Strength, which could be useful. At 14th level, we'll get access to Replicate Belt of Hill Giant Strength, Enhanced Defense for our spiked armor, Replicate Gauntlets of Ogre Power, Replicate Bag of Holding, Arcane Propulsion Armor, and Replicate Cloak of Protection. Let's go ahead and look at our armor class real quick. Thanks to our spiked armor, we will get access to an armor class of 14 plus our dexterity modifier. When we get our enhanced defense for our spiked armor, that'll increase it by 2 more points. With an enhanced defense shield, that is an extra +4, and the cloak of protection gives us +1 to that armor class. So that means we have a 23 armor class. Very impressive. Moving on to level 2 Barbarian, that'll give us access to Danger Sense and Reckless Attack. Level 3 Barbarian, we get access to our Path of the Battle Rager, giving us access to Battle Rager armor, letting us use our spiked armor as a weapon. We also get access to Primal Knowledge, which gives us a free skill proficiency. We'll just go with Perception. At level 3 Artificer, not only do we become an armorer for our Artificer Specialist, but we get access to Tools of the Trade, Heavy Armor and Smith's Tools. Armorer spells are going to be Magic Missile and Thunder Wave. We get access to our armor model of Guardian, with the right tool for the job, just for being a 3rd level Artificer. Thanks to our Thunder Gauntlets, we are able to deal 1d8 Thunder damage. From our Giant Foundling, we get to add 1d6 cold damage. Thanks to that Belt of Hill Giant Strength, we'll get a +5 Strength modifier. Our Rage will give us a +2. And Enhanced Weapon will give us a +2. If we do not go with our Rage bonus, we could use Booming Blade at 11th level, which will give us access to an extra 2d8 thunder damage, and if its secondary effect gets triggered, an extra 3d8 thunder damage on top of that. So we're definitely pulling our own weight with this multi-class build, still being able to deal damage as we would. So we're not that much of a pushover. Moving on to level 4 Barbarian, go ahead and increase your intelligence and your charisma each by 1. At level 4 Artificer, we'll get access to the feat of Tavern Brawler, which will increase our constitution by 1 point. We'll get access to improvised weapons for our weapon proficiency. Our unarmed strike does deal 1d4 damage, and when we hit a creature with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon on our turn, we can use a bonus action to attempt to grapple the target. At 5th level, in both Barbarian and Artificer, we'll be getting access to extra attack. But with Barbarian, we get access to fast movement, and with Artificer, we get access to 2 more Armorer spells, Mirror Image and Shatter. At level 6 Barbarian, we get access to Reckless Abandon. Level 6 Artificer gets access to Tool Expertise. Level 7 Artificer gets access to Flash of Genius. At level 8, we're going to go with the feat of Athlete. When we are prone, we can stand up using only 5 feet of movement. Climbing doesn't cost any extra movement. And when we make a running long jump or running high jump, we only need to move 5 feet instead of 10 feet. And of course, our dexterity goes from a 13 to a 14. Level 9 Artificer gets access to Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolt for Artificer spells, and for our Armorer modifications we get 2 free infuse items, but they must go onto our armor. We're going with Enhanced Weapon and Helm of Awareness. At level 10 Artificer, we get access to Magic Item Adept. Level 11 Artificer gets access to Spell Storing Item, and we get to end things off at level 12 Artificer, increasing our Constitution and Intelligence each by 1. At level 13 Artificer, we get Armorer spells of Fire Shield and Greater Invisibility, and to finish off the build, Magic Item Savant at level 14. While that is the end of the build, it is not the end of the video, as we do need to look at our spells. So, for spells, I recommend the following cantrips: Bowing Blade, Mending, Ray of Frost, and Sword Burst. For your first level spells, I recommend Cure Wounds, Fairy Fire, Purify Food and Drink, and Tasha's Caustic Brew. Second level, we have Aid, Heat Metal, and Lesser Restoration. At third level, you have Catnap, Fly, and Haste. And at fourth level, I definitely recommend grabbing Fabricate. Now, are there better options for a Barbarian Artificer multi-class? Obviously. In fact, I would highly recommend some of these options. For your Barbarian, I would recommend going for the Totem Warrior. For your race, I would recommend getting Kalishtar to pair up with that Totem Warrior. That way you can access the Morphing Grid. Yes, I am highly recommending that you play a Power Ranger-flavored think tank. It's very humorous and, well, it kind of fits with the whole Armorer theme, with it being able to cover your entire body and all. But if you're looking for a more accurate representation of a Power Ranger, I did do a build a few years ago on that very concept. Would recommend checking that out. It was a rather fun build. But with that being said, that is all the time I have for you today. Did you enjoy this video? Let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, this has been Drehan, and I am offline.